está peinado, ya déjalo ya.
And yet the murder rate in our country is the highest it's been in 47 years, right? Did you know that? 47 years. I used to use that. I'd say that in a speech and everybody was surprised because the press doesn't tell it like it is. It wasn't to their advantage to say that. But the murder rate is the highest it's been in, I guess, from 45 to 47 years.
You know, he was right. And just getting back from Washington myself on our Sutherland Springs shooter, America has the highest rate of murder. These kids, 14 to 24-year-olds, are killing each other in the inner cities throughout the United States. It's not just massive shooting, it's a mental health crisis that he also referenced to, and what he declared as a national public health state of emergency needs to be diverted into the point of matter here in America as far as how we try to bring back this safety, and why I'm here in Texas right now on what happened there at the Santa Fe. We're going to see the family and try to address where you know, this crisis in our schools is going on throughout. I mean, I think we're at 100 and something school shootings, and they don't bring you that awareness because it's like they want to dumb you down. But I'm going to bring you that awareness because there's action that needs to be taken today. And even here in our city, we're going to hear about how violent our city is as to what I brought you. But let me let you watch this.
January 23rd, a young gunman opens fire inside a crowded school atrium in Kentucky, killing 2 students and wounding 14 others.
I saw there was a lot of blood everywhere, and then people were getting shoved down.
December 7th, at a high school in Aztec, New Mexico, another young gunman shoots and kills 2 of his classmates.
I feel bad for all the kids who got hurt and for the kids who were in the shooting.
November 14th, a gunman in Tehama County, California, fires 30 rounds into an elementary school as children hide beneath their desks. None of the school kids died, but after the gunman was killed by police, they discovered earlier he had murdered 5 people, including his wife.
We located her dead body concealed under the floor of the residence. We believe that's probably what started this whole event.
What starts these events is always the subject of detective work, community second-guessing, and familial agonizing. Perhaps the biggest question, why is this happening more frequently? This year, there have already been 18 school shootings. There were 7 by this time last year. Since 2013, the number of school shootings has steadily risen, with the sole exception being 2016, when there were only 48. Only, as if that was in any way acceptable or normal. As a sign of the times, more schools now prepare their students for gun violence. 2/3 of school districts report conducting active shooter drills, even though only 19 states require them. CBS News law enforcement analyst Paul Violas.
This is something that is so prevalent, it's actually rehearsed, it's part of curriculum across the United States. Making sure that we understand how to properly and expeditiously and safely contain this type of situation and minimize the injury.
Researchers say school shootings are happening at a rate of 1 a week. Some are accidental or suicide, where the only victim was the shooter. Jeff.
All right, Don Daler, thank you very much.
This is going on, and if we don't go to the point of matter, it's not an opioid crisis. We have a mental health crisis, and we're going to uphold the Constitution as far as the work we've done here in Texas. This has been brought here, and I've listened to the so-called leaders and the governor wanting to get to this roundtable discussion on what we're saying, but not wanting to include as far as what we did and tried to do in legislation when they started funding this practice. This process is being done, and when you don't get your language included for humanity, for these crimes that we're enduring, what the president's called a public health state of emergency, you've become very concerned. As far as, we're natives, so we've always been so concerned over what is sort of happening here in our society. And yes, he's making some great changes, and I've tried to include on our proposals and the partnerships there with bringing our indigenous healing remedies over this adverse effects of what we've been bringing the awareness to you as far as this psychotropic use on children having to suffer this dehumanization under this color has to be acknowledged that this is not just a public health state of emergency, but the coming together today and the awakening of what the natives are asking. In Washington, First Lady Melania Trump had reference to the children as far as her Be Best initiative. And the natives are ready to meet with her and partner with her to bring the healing remedies for children to make them functional again, not to where we have to prod them with what she says. Let me let you listen to what she had to say, please.
Thank you all for being here today. It touches my heart to see the many familiar faces of the people I have been lucky to get to know over the last few months. Thank you for the time and strength it takes for each of you to tell your stories. We are here today because of your courage. The opioid epidemic has affected more than 2 million Americans nationwide, and sadly, the number continues to rise. We lost more than 175 Americans to overdoses every day, and millions more are struggling with addiction. As many of you know, addiction affects children in many different ways, and I have recently taken a larger interest in what I can do to help fight this epidemic. I have been participating in meetings and listening sessions, and I have been visiting with people who have been affected by this disease. I want to take a moment now to tell you what I have learned from the men and women on the front lines of this epidemic. Don Holman talked to me about his son, Garrett, who took medication for ADHD and suffered from depression and anxiety. He explained that social media played a part in his son's erratic moods and behaviors. Garrett started to buy synthetic opioids online and self-medicated for his depression, passing away from an overdose just 8 days before his 21st birthday. Don Holman taught me that the stigma of drug addiction must be normalized, and talking about it is the only way to do that. Coach David McGee talked about his friend who became addicted after his pain medication were prescribed for sports injury. His friend died from an overdose, and through his tragic loss, Coach McGee taught me how important it is to educate kids, athletes, and parents, because his friend was not weak-minded. In fact, like so many of our kids today, he was competitive and strong-willed. Sabra Jean Collar, who is now in her 10th year of recovery, helped me learn that drug addiction is an effective disease, but with the proper support and medical attention, a person can move on to live a healthy and happy life. We are so proud of you for all that you have overcome, Sabra, and pray for you as you continue on this journey. Where are you, Sabra? Hello. When I had the honor of visiting Lily's Place in West Virginia, a recovery center for infants born addicted to drugs, I learned that to help babies succeed, we must help their parents succeed. By placing a priority of the whole family, Lily's Place is giving infants the best opportunity to thrive because their parents are being given the support and tools they need to succeed. I want to thank Rebecca Crowder and the staff at Lily's Place for their heroic efforts. Thank you. I have learned so much from those brave enough to talk about this epidemic, and I know there are many more stories to tell. But what I found to be the common theme with all of these stories is that this can happen to any of us. Drug addiction can take your friends, neighbors, or your family. No state has been spared, and no demographic has been untouched, which is why my husband and his administration has dedicated itself to combating this health crisis by using every resource available. I'm so proud to support him today as he sees this commitment through. I look forward to continue my work on behalf of children across the country and hope that citizens everywhere will join forces with this administration to help end this health crisis. Thank you very much for being here with us today. God bless you all, and God bless the United States of America.
And that's part of the order that we're hoping the president looks at in meeting with the Native Americans, and to bring a new process as to where, I think in a show prior I had brought you that this can't be our future. And if we're going to build America's future, we need to realize the legs of our body and society as to what if he's going to reference to needs to be the ending of the imprisonment of our future. When you take a practice and cripple a child, making them not functional, and then walk away from the matters of fact, you can't say this is making us prosperous or this land of the free. And that's what he said here. So this is what I heard there when I was in Washington. I went for the Sutherland Springs shooter. He was a veteran. He was put on psychotropics, put in a mental ward. He tried to escape, get back to Texas. Ended up, his mother-in-law went to the church there, and when she took her daughter, had her daughter leave him, you know, a veteran can't go against God's will a second time. They're already killing children. I've already told you this. But when a wife asks for a divorce, you know, he believes that they get married until death do you part. And he believes taking her to heaven. And his children even, you know, as to what we said back in 2012. But this is what the president said.
Effective today, my administration is officially declaring the opioid crisis a national public health emergency under federal law, and why I am directing all executive agencies to use every appropriate emergency authority to fight the opioid crisis. We can be the generation that ends the opioid epidemic. We can do it.
And then I have to listen to Pelosi and these people saying we have to respect them. They're human beings. They're not human beings. They're not human beings. And this is why we call the bloodthirsty MS-13 gang members exactly the name that I used last week. What was the name? Animals. MS-13 takes advantage of glaring loopholes in our immigration laws to infiltrate our country. That's what they do. Think of it. We're bringing them out by the thousands, but they come in. We're bringing them out by the thousands. You know, in Long Island, we have guys in Border Patrol, and we have guys in ICE, and women, and fantastic women, and brave, and tough, and strong. But we have the people in ICE. They go around and grab MS-13. And the beauty is, they're much tougher than these gang members. And they see these people, and they say, man, and they throw them into the paddy wagons. And the towns, this is Long Island, where I grew up. You have the same kind of communities, but for some reason, so many in Long Island, it's like they've been liberated, like from a war. It's like the enemy has been taken out, and the people are dancing, and they're waving, and they're looking out their windows, and they're waving to the ICE people. Those people are incredible, brave, tough people. They've been liberated. Terrible. If you would have told me 30 years ago, 20 years ago, that could happen to Long Island, I would have said, no way. But that's what happened. But think of it. It's like these towns have been liberated. Yet in the face of MS-13 and its threat, Washington Democrats voted against legislation to remove these criminal aliens. They voted against case law, and they voted in favor of sanctuary cities that protect criminals. And they voted in favor of catch and release, okay? So Democrats have opposed every common sense measure necessary to stop this horrendous scourge of crime, to dismantle MS-13, and to stop illegal immigration. That's why we have to go in November. You have to work with Marcia. We have to get the votes. We need the votes. They stick together. They'll always vote. Phil, whatever the hell his name is, this guy will 100% vote against us every single time. I have Democrats come up to me. I love you, President. I love the job. I'm with you, President. You know, some of these states I won by 44 points. And they're afraid that if I go there, which I will, so they're telling me all sorts. They're actually saying good things. Democrats running for office, many of them, are saying great things about me. In fact, I think they're Republicans. But here's the problem. They're not going to vote for us. No matter what they say, doesn't matter. The only thing that matters, they don't have to say anything. The only thing that matters is, will they raise their hand? They will never raise their hand. Because I told you, they're bad at everything, but they're good at sticking together. They're good at sticking. I give them respect for that. They're good at sticking together. It's the only thing they're good at. We support the rule of law, and we support the heroes of law enforcement. Thank you.
And we're hoping, because his wife has a Be Best initiative, that he looks at ending what we need to be accountable for, what we've done to children under the color here. I went and I did the review there with the lawsuit, because we're trying to initiate this opioid epidemic and what the president's declared, and that class action is being done there at Judge Pelzner's. At that same time, we were in New York and looking at how we can heal this and bring that remedy over what has happened to children. We have to awaken. You know what we did for the kids here in Texas and the foster care? What we tried to say during the session, and why I ran for senator in this district, because the highest rate of recidivism in the United States is Texas. And we have all the reports. They were there. Texas Appleseed, Texas Criminal Justice Coalition, Texas Families of Incarcerated Youth were all there asking for this inhumane process to end. That there was a special done when I started my mission to eradicate this crime against humanity by Diane Sawyer. Let me let you watch what she has to say.
An ABC News exclusive investigation and indictment of what the U.S. government does to some of the most vulnerable children in this country. We have spent a year investigating a horrible secret. Tens of thousands of foster care children, even infants, given powerful mind-altering drugs, and at times in doses and combinations considered too risky even for adults. And remember this statistic: foster children are given these potent drugs at an alarming 13 times the rate of other children. Tomorrow, a government GAO report will paint a portrait of a grotesque failure to protect foster children. But over the past years, so many of them have come forward to us to tell us about their lives, young kids living sometimes as sleepwalkers, sometimes reeling out of control.
These are the meds that I've been taking since I was 4. 1, 2, 3, 11, 12, 13.
Lexapro. The last one is Abilify. All the medications, they made me feel as if I had 1,000 bricks on my head.
They are tiny witnesses who came out of the shadows to tell and show us the mountain of potent drugs, antidepressants, antipsychotic drugs they were given in America's foster care system.
I was just a zombie.
And keep in mind, these are vulnerable children who've already been dealt a hand from hell, so many of them born into homes filled with neglect and abuse and bounced from foster home to foster home.
I were in 28 homes. I felt sad because no one would keep me or love me.
Consider the case of 7-year-old Brooke, taken from a drug-addicted mother, just 43 pounds, but given 5 mind-altering drugs at the same time, a combination that is deemed too risky even for adults.
Brooke, you need to get down. Come here, Brooke.
And foster parents who want to help soon learn that if they don't give medications, the child can be taken away.
We were told to put our faith in the system, and that's what we did. No one said the medications could be causing the problem. They kept saying she needs more medications.
But in Brooke's case, one doctor, a psychiatrist, recognized the problem. And Brooke went from this, being weaned off the strongest medications, to this.
No adult should be receiving the drugs, that different variety, certainly not at these ages.
Delaware Senator Tom Carper is holding a congressional hearing tomorrow demanding changes in the foster care system in this country. Parallel to the year-long ABC News investigation, the GAO report, which found in some cases psychotropic drugs were given to infants, even though there is no idea what the long-term effects of these drugs could be on a child's developing brain. And the report found in 5 states alone, out of 100,000 foster kids, 26,000 were on some form of psychotropic drugs. How is it happening?
When you don't have the time, the quick rush to judgment is the answer is a pill.
Michael Perino, prominent child advocate, says these children are issuing a cry for help. When we read that foster kids are medicated up to 13 times more than other kids, is it because they are a more troubled population?
They are troubled, yeah. There's no question that foster kids can be troubled, very troubled. Given what they've gone through, the answer isn't to always try to change their brain chemistry.
Medications that can keep a child from his life. Look at 11-year-old Chianti, prescribed 12 medications over the course of 4 years for conditions doctors now say he didn't have.
I'm not ADHD, I'm just naughty. I am not bipolar at all.
This is footage of Chianti trying to come off these medications. And this is Chianti today. He's in honors classes at school, and he got one prescription that heals beyond imagining. Chianti has been adopted.
Now you're part of the family.
Which takes us back to Brooke. Remember her? She too has a permanent hug, a mom, a dad, a home.
Yeah, you hug all the anger out, right? She just hugs and hugs and hugs and gets all the anger out.
So who is responsible? And by the way, your taxpayer dollars are paying for this. Medicaid pays for these drugs. Well, tomorrow I will question the Federal Drug Administration, and Sharon Alfonsi goes out to track down doctors prescribing these medications.
That is vital, and it needs to end today. So I don't know what I'm going to have to do as to what the president said last night about being an animal. Because he's talking about what we've said for over 500 years. We're not animals, we're humans, but we have a society that's doing this to children. And the judge said that making members not functional. So we're trying to bring a reentry program here and address what he just said as far as upholding the Constitution. As to my duties, and what I said when the governor said, and I'd ask all of them when I ran for senator, he said it's the duty of all Texans to protect Texas children from abuse or neglect, and that's especially under the care umbrella of the state of Texas. So I'm hoping these men are Christian men, God-fearing men, as to what we've had to endure for 500 years, to be brought to the forefront and acknowledge that we're human. I'm a human. And I've advocated for these children. I'm going to continue onward. And I'm going to put together an exploratory committee on how we can address what the president says here on what we're going to do as far as building America's future. So I'm asking all y'all to join me, because it's only going to take one hand to be raised up and make this change. But we need to unite. It's what we've always done. I mean, even when they came here, we had Thanksgiving. And I want you to thank you for your support in making this change. I'm a veteran. I'm a native of America. And God bless you.
One pair of hands formed the mountains. One pair of hands formed the sea. One pair of hands made the sun and the moon. Every bird, every flower, every tree. One pair of hands on the valleys, the ocean, the rivers, and the sand. Those hands are so strong, so when life goes wrong, put your faith into one pair of hands. One pair of hands heal the sick. One pair of hands raise the dead. One pair of hands calm the raging storm. And thousands of people were fed. One pair of hands said, I love you. And those hands were nailed to a tree. Those hands are so strong, so when life goes wrong, put your faith into one pair of hands. Those hands are so strong, so when put your faith into one pair of hands. Put your faith into one pair of hands. One pair of
volverá. Triste pena, ya déjalo ya. Yo sé que un día volverá.